He is already having an impact. Two new additions for the New York Jets are proving why they should be around long term, and the New York Jets bring in an ex-first round pick to take a look and see what he has and see if he's worth signing, and we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Football 365. If you're a New York Jet fan, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. Only 4.1% of viewers are subscribed to the channel. But let's get into the news for today, coming from NewYorkJets.com. The Jets themselves, since the completion of training camp, Jets general manager Darren Mougey has acquired 12 players who are on the active roster, and half of those players were acquired via trade. While adding several draft assets in two blockbuster deals, Mougey also addressed some immediate needs. In the present, however, a couple of preseason deals with Minnesota for defensive lineman Harrison Phillips and with Cleveland for defensive lineman Jawan Briggs have been paying dividends right now. Yeah, I think he's really backed it up, Phillips said on Monday, referring to Briggs' increased time on the field. He said he's got his number called a handful of times and he's gone out there and he's produced. And it's super exciting to see a young player produce, to see where his ceiling is going to be in this league. I'm doing everything I can to help him grow and find that ceiling. This is a quote from one of the New York Jets offseason acquisitions about one of the other ones. Darren Mougey in the offseason trading for Harrison Phillips, a defensive tackle from the Minnesota Vikings, and then Jawan Briggs, a defensive tackle from the Cleveland Browns. Let's start with Jawan Briggs, a 2024 7th round pick of Cleveland. Didn't do anything in his rookie season with the Browns, but already has 3 sacks in a very short time with the New York Jets. You may say 3 sacks isn't that impressive for this deep into the season, but Jawan Briggs didn't start out with a ton of playing time, and he is now getting more opportunities now that Quinnen Williams has moved on to the Dallas Cowboys in a trade. That hurts, but we won that trade. That was a trade that needed to happen. If we weren't winning with Quinnen Williams, we might as well pick up the draft picks and try to figure something else out. Now, Jawan Briggs only has 10 tackles on the year, but 3 sacks is a very, very good thing to have from your interior defensive lineman. 3 sacks is actually more than Quinnen Williams had on the season when he was traded from the New York Jets 2 weeks ago. Now, I think Quinnen Williams may be up to either 2.5 sacks or 3 sacks himself, but Jawan Briggs is showing out in what was an extremely cheap deal for the New York Jets. Just, day 3 picks, the only thing being exchanged. A low risk, high reward move by Darren Mougey, and Jawan Briggs is proving that he needs to be a player who is around the New York Jets long term. Speaking of players who need to be around the New York Jets next season, Harrison Phillips was another defensive tackle picked up from the Minnesota Vikings via trade in the offseason. Harrison Phillips is a space eater and a run stuffer, coming in on the significantly older side, coming in at 29 years old. Harrison Phillips can't be around for the long term, but he certainly can be around for next season. The Jets, if you look at our depth chart of the defensive line, it is looking extremely, extremely shallow. Offseason acquisition out of free agency being let go by, or not re-signed by the Cincinnati Bengals. J2 is slated as one of our top starting defensive tackles according to ESPN. Harrison Phillips right in there next to him. Harrison Phillips is a run stuffer, and he's a defensive tackle who can be a difference maker in the run game when he has another good defensive tackle next to him. I thought him and Quinnen Williams were an amazing fit together. Unfortunately, Quinnen Williams was traded, so we're going to have to find a new defensive tackle, one who's going to be able to be a game wrecker and rush the passer from the inside, but that may even be Jawan Briggs himself, currently as a number 2 defensive tackle behind our 2 starters in J2 and Harrison Phillips, as according to ESPN. But Darren Mougey was busy all offseason and even into the season reworking this defensive tackle group. It was obviously a area of need for the New York Jets. That, the defensive tackle position, the tackling was really, really bad last season. The run stuffing was not good enough. The tackling wasn't good enough. So Darren Mougey went out and got these guys. J2 signed in free agency. Harrison Phillips traded for. Jawan Briggs traded for. And then Mazi Smith was a throw-in in the Quinnen Williams deal. He was a 2023 first-round pick. Unfortunately, he was healthy scratched most of the games by the Dallas Cowboys this season, already healthy scratched by the New York Jets. Don't have extremely high hopes for him, really any hopes for him. Really, anything we get out of Mozzie Smith would be a plus. Don't be excited for him to do anything. He's most likely going to be an absolute zero for us. But if you can get him as a throw-in on top of the first-round pick and the second-round pick for Quinnen Williams, there's no reason to say no. And I think he was a perfect addition to the trade because he's likely nothing. But if someone with first-round traits is going to have an opportunity anywhere, he may as well have an opportunity with us. We're not fighting to win games. Like, however many games we win or lose doesn't matter. It only matters for draft seeding. It doesn't matter for actually winning anything. So if this guy needs a ton of time to develop, we might as well bring him in and give him that time that he needs to develop. Also, you may remember last week, Kalen Saunders was signed. That's just another defensive tackle being added to this room, which certainly needs help. Maybe, if the New York Jets aren't in love with a defensive tackle if they're not in love with a quarterback at the top of the draft board, Clemson has this guy, Peter Woods, who's a phenomenal defensive tackle, projected to be, going into the season, projected to be a top 3 pick, fallen down a little bit, still projected to be a top 10 pick, but he could be a monstrous selection for the New York Jets, and he's someone that I will definitely be making a video on probably in the very near future. By that, I mean probably tomorrow or the next day, but Peter Woods is another addition to this defensive tackle room who he can be that number 1 defensive tackle next to Harrison Phillips, who, like I said before, he's more of a supporting role defensive tackle. He's not going to be a superstar. He's 29 years old. He is what he is in this league now. He's not going to come out and just go absolutely crazy out of nowhere. He's great at doing what he does, which is run support and stopping the run. But we need someone who's going to collapse the pocket from the inside and make it so quarterbacks, when Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald are getting around the outside, we don't want the quarterback to be super comfortable stepping up into the middle of the pocket. We want to push back the center, push back those offensive guards to make it more difficult for the quarterback. But I mentioned in the beginning, a ex-first-round pick came in to the New York Jets. Coming from New York Jets insider Rich Cimini on ESPN on Twitter, former first-round pick defensive back Kaiir Elam visited the Jets today. He was cut by the Cowboys on Saturday. He was the Bills' first-round pick in 2022. Now, Kaiir Elam was drafted by the Bills in 2022, kind of fell flat on his face in the NFL, not a very good defensive back, played with the Dallas Cowboys, who were one of the worst defenses in the entire season so far. I believe they're still the number 31 defense in yards allowed per game, only ahead of the Cincinnati Bengals. Not even close to where you want to be. Probably not going to be signed because the weakest part of that already weak Dallas Cowboy defense is their secondary. So you have to imagine Kaiir Elam is most likely not going to be signing with the New York Jets. But Aaron Glenn loves traits. He likes tall corners. He likes long corners. And by long, I mean long arms. He likes traits. Kaiir Elam was taken in the first round by the Buffalo Bills, so you can imagine that he brings traits to the table. The problem with picking up these guys that were first round picks but busted, that means they had the traits to be drafted in the first round, but they made it through the NFL and they didn't have the skills to stick around. So unfortunately, he is someone that I don't think it's highly likely the New York Jets are going to actually be signing. But if you were a first round pick in the recent, in recent history, for me, it's always interesting to talk about those guys. And I think it's always newsworthy and noteworthy whenever the New York Jets have an opportunity to sign a player like that. Even if he is bad, he could end up being another Darren Mougey, low risk, high reward signing where we sign him to 1 year, something extremely cheap, like whatever the minimum is. He's not 2022, 23, 24, 25. So this is his 4th season. I believe that means he does not qualify as a veteran for 1 more year. Could be wrong on that, but hopefully we can, maybe sign him to whatever the minimum contract is for him on a 1-year deal where he can just play with the Jets for the rest of this season, show that he deserves to stay with the Jets and get re-signed, or show us why he was cut by those other 2 teams, the Bills and the Cowboys, and we don't re-sign him. It would be I don't want to say a win-win for the Jets because they're probably not going to win anything, but it is a no-risk bet for the New York Jets. So if we don't win, we just get our caps. It doesn't hurt the cap space long-term. I think it is a move that even though I think there's a very high likelihood that Kaiir Elam is absolutely nothing for the New York Jets should he be signed. It's a move that we should be at least exploring on a secondary that just lost our #1 cornerback a couple weeks ago in Sauce Gardner. But that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and go Jets.